I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Can you explain what you mean by lame? Specifically, what behavior was the horse exhibiting?
Yes, ma'am. He was limping on his left side. He also was laying down quite a bit that following morning. The following morning, once we got him home, we had a hard time getting him to stand, and it's pretty unusual for a horse to lay down. So we knew that something was going on.
This is the plaintiff, Madeline. She says she purchased a horse from the defendant, and the woman told her it was only 8 years old when it turns out it was 22 years old. The poor thing also has a disease. She may have to euthanize it and is here suing the defendant for the $2,000 she's now owed. This is the defendant, Nicole. She says she rescued this horse from a kill center and nursed it back to health. She told the plaintiff all about this horse's history. She inspected the horse, and she made the decision to buy him. She's accused of horsing around.
All parties, please use your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Madeline, you are suing Ms. Nicole's horse ranch for $2,000 that you say you need to be recompensed, the value of a horse that you bought from her plus your expenses. Tell me what happened.
That's correct, Your Honor. I purchased this horse from Miss Nicole on March 31st.
Okay.
About 6 to 12 hours after we got him home, he became lame. We determined that it was probably because of his hooves. The defendant claimed that this horse was a healthy horse, that he was 8 years old.
Let me see the ad. Very patient and tolerant gelding. Bear is 8 years old and stands at 15. What does HH mean?
Hands high.
Hands high. Okay. He is slow and easy. Excellent babysitter horse or great trail horse. No bad habits. Absolute sweetheart. He needs a loving home and a sweet family. All right, so Ms. Madeline, tell me what happens. Well, you go over there and what do? You had wanted to go with a friend who knows a lot about horses, but she was unavailable. You went anyway, and then what happens?
Correct. I got there to the horse. The horse did seem to be very frail. He appeared as if he needed more weight put on him. However, he was very sweet. I did ride him at that time. I also FaceTimed my friend to let her take a look at the horse as well. She also said, you know, similar to what I had said, that he just needed to eat more. But then again, once I got him home is when he became lame, and I was in contact with Miss Nicole.
Can you explain what you mean by lame? Specifically, what behavior was the horse exhibiting?
Yes, ma'am. He was limping on his left side. He also was laying down quite a bit that following morning. The following morning, once we got him home, we had a hard time getting him to stand, and it's pretty unusual for a horse to lay down. So we knew that something was going on. It just took us a couple of days to really pinpoint exactly what it was. We did note that both of his left hooves had abscesses. there appears to be a crack along the top part of his hoof, and that is where one of the abscesses ruptured from.
All right, so the vet comes to the horse.
No,
right?
ma'am, I
Or
had
no?
the farrier.
Okay.
I had the farrier come out first to check his hooves. The farrier came out Thursday. He trimmed his hooves and identified that both right hooves had previous abscesses that had not healed correctly. So I've also began treating those by soaking them. And then, of course, the other two on his left side had both ruptured and were in the healing process.
Okay. Then the vet sees the horse, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. I took him to the vet on Friday.
Okay. And what happens?
The vet walks out, and her first words were that this horse has Cushing's disease.
Which is
and
what?
It has to do with the adrenal glands. He produces too much cortisol. It's the overproduction of cortisol.
And what's the treatment if that's true?
There is a medication that they can prescribe for him called Presend, which would be 1 tablet a day for the rest of his life, and it's $80 a month to treat with. It doesn't guarantee a good quality of life, but it can improve their quality of life.
Okay. So what did you call the horse? Bear? You kept the same name?
Yes, ma'am. I did keep the same name, Bear.
How did you get Bear, Ms. Nicole?
I take in him specifically. He came from a horse auction. I outbid kill buyers. He would end up being slaughtered in Mexico if I wouldn't have taken him in. I do this with multiple horses and then try to find them a loving home so that they don't end up down the slaughter pipeline or in traders' hands where they're just going from cell barn to cell barn.
Okay.
And being malnourished.
And did you tell the plaintiff that it
Yes,
was a
ma'am.
rescue horse? And you had the horse how long?
A week and a half. We got him on May 22nd. She come on May 31st.
And did she
on
know how
Memorial
long
Day.
you'd had the horse or no?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know that it was a rescue horse, Ms. Madeline?
Yes, Your Honor, I
And
did.
did you know that she'd only had the horse for a week?
I was told 2 weeks.
Okay. But it wasn't like her horse that she knew well or anything else. All right. Did you have the horse seen by a vet during the week that you had, or 2 weeks that you had him?
No, Your Honor, we didn't.
Okay.
Some like him, yes, he was malnourished, just as she said, and I told her this before she even come to see him. Horses like him, when they're really gentle, I can rehome them and find them a good home whenever they seem perfectly healthy. And a lot of them, they're just thin, and I can keep the adoption fees low if I'm not racking up a bunch of vet bills.
No, I understand that.
Had he have given us any symptoms of anything, he never limped, he was never tender in his feet, then yes, he would have seen a vet.
Well, I'm pretty sure he would have, because I don't think you do this as a business. I think you do this as a labor of love. So I can't imagine that you would allow the horse to be in pain if the horse had exhibited anything in front of you. But one of the things that you say in your ad is that the horse is 8 years old, right? Where did you get that from?
During the auction, whenever I bought him, they said that he is 8 years old.
584, number 584, coming in, 8-year-old baby Gilbert.
And really, to me, he did look older, and so I told her 8 to 10.
Now, Ms. Madeline, according to you, the vet says the horse is much older?
Yes, ma'am. According to my vet and a farrier that was also not a farrier, an equine dentist that was also at the vet hospital when I took him, they both reviewed his teeth and said that he was at least 22 years old, if not older.
Okay, and do you have that in writing anywhere?
I have that on one of the receipts that I received from the vet. Which one is it? It's the same receipt where she recommends euthanasia under his age.
Buying a horse in Texas is not the same as buying a dog that has certain rules and regulations that govern it. What you're governed by is deceptive practices. So it has to be fraud on her part. She has to have lied about something to you deliberately in order to sell it to you. What is it? Because in other words, there's no return policy on this. You have to be, the only way you would be entitled to your money back is if you can show me she lied. What did she lie about? She thought the horse was 8 because that's what she was told. She told you she'd only had it for a week. She told you it was a rescue. What did she lie to you about, Ms. Madeline?
Specifically the age and the health of the horse.
But you understand what the difference between a lie and inaccurate information is. She would have to have known the horse wasn't 8. And I don't see that she lied about anything. It's not like you can't see the hooves. She sees the same thing you saw and thought it was fine. So unless you're going to show me that, you know, your vet happens to be her vet, and the vet told her that the horse had, you know, a terrible disease and abscesses and everything else, and so you can show me she was on notice of something, how is it that I'm going to look at her and say that was a deceptive practice and you defrauded her and you owe her back her money? I really can't. I really can't. This is an expensive hobby, pastime,
Right.
passion. My verdict in this case is for the defendant.
So the defendant prevails. The plaintiff does not get her $2,000 back. Madeline, let me ask you, how do you feel about the judge's verdict? What are you thinking right now?
It is what it is. I just have to take care of him now and hopefully nurse him back to health.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things you're going to do with the horses. Take care of it and nurse it back to health and hopefully, you know, have him for a long time, right? He can be a family pet. Nicole, you okay with the outcome? I'm sure you are, and I know you didn't intend to cheat her in any way, did you?
Absolutely. Yep. I'm trying to do a good service to these horses, and...
Well, it's a good service you're doing. Good for you.
So, Doug, this is interesting. This was an as-is sale, and the judge said, look, there was no fraud here. That's the only way of undoing this deal, because the defendant had a good faith belief that the horse was around 8 years old based on what the defendant was told. If there were a warranty, a contract that specified the horse is a certain age, then it would be a different story. That doesn't exist. As-is sale, that's why the defendant won.
Do you believe in aliens?
Do I believe in aliens? Well, I'm going to ask you the same question, but by way of background, you and I went stargazing in a really cool place.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming,
right?
in the Grand Tetons.
That was amazing.
Deep in the Grand Tetons.
Right, and there was a guy who went with us who was an astrophysicist or something, and showed us some amazing stuff. And in the middle of the night, we saw this weird chain of lights going across the sky.
It's like a diamond necklace going across the sky.
And we were sitting there going, oh, the visitors are here, right? and it turned out it was the SpaceX satellite that had just gone up.
What's it called? The Elon Musk new satellite thing. So the coolest thing I saw was actually man-made. It was kind of, but it was freaking everybody out there for a moment.
But we were talking that night about aliens and whether we believed in aliens. And my take on it is, I'm a skeptic. We haven't been visited as far as we know. Like,
our children really want there to be aliens.
I know, but
I was kind of surprised to hear them talking about that. And a lot of it has to do with the recent declassification of a lot of things that, and my children are conspiracy theorists to the hilt.
Right, I got an answer to that too. I did have a top secret and an SCI clearance for years, and people leak.
Yeah,
and
government can't keep a
people,
secret very
and
well.
especially when there's money potentially involved. The idea that nobody had loose lips since like 1951, that they're 1952, that they've had all this, they've got an alien spacecraft. It's hard for me to buy it. What about you? You believe or you don't?
No, I don't know. I have so many real life, right here, right now problems that I never really ponder that. You know?
You have time for that?
I have time for that.
Oh, I got plenty of time for that.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from McDonald's, Popeyes, Pizza Hut, Wendy's, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a hamburger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
I was running until I wasn't. My hospital stay would have cost nearly $48,000, even with insurance. But with VA, I'll pay zero. And VA is the best, most affordable healthcare in America for veterans like me. Knowing that my family is waiting at home and a surprise medical bill isn't, that's good for my heart. My service was then, my benefits are now. Get what you earned. Visit choose.va.gov.
Not all veterans are eligible for the type or amount of benefits mentioned here.
This is the plaintiff, Kira Gatling. She says she and her boyfriend rented a 2-bedroom apartment from the defendant, and boy, was that a mistake. She was abruptly served eviction papers after she complained about possible lead in the apartment. And she's here in the name of what's right, suing. for the $10,100 she surely owed. This is the defendant, Shirley Peretz. She says she got a bunch of excessive noise complaints from the other tenants in the building, complaining about the loud, unruly plaintiff and her kids. So she told her she had to leave. After she left, she contacted an attorney who started complaining about a lead certificate. And here they are. She's accused of being terrible to her tenants. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $4,147 for all she's out.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says that she is the victim of retaliation. She complained to the landlord that there might be lead in the paint on the walls and got evicted as a result. But the defendant says the woman was loud, her kids were unruly, and she had no right to break her lease. It's the case of premature eviction.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Gatlin, you are suing your former landlord, Shirley Peretz, for $10,100 in damages. According to you, she's keeping your security deposit, so you're asking for double that. But then you're suing for $2,190 again after that, so you've lost me. Are you trying to get your security deposit back 3 times?
Oh, no, not at all. So Miss Peretz, she knowingly took an additional security deposit, which is illegal. In Philadelphia, you're not allowed to take 2 security deposits.
I'm still trying to figure out what you're asking for, because in your first line of what you're asking for is $2,190 twice. You see, so you're already asking for double $2,190. Then you're asking for another $2,190, but wasn't that $2,190 already taken care of in your first request?
I see.
Okay.
So
All right. No, let's not spend another second on it. Let's, let me talk about attorney's fees. You ended up having to pay an attorney $1,625. So you're trying to recoup that now, correct?
That is correct.
But didn't the settlement that you arrived at in landlord-tenant court say everybody ate their own attorney's fees?
To be honest, I am not sure about that.
I am. All right. And then the $3,000 is for emotional distress. Tell me about that.
Oh, yes. Miss Peretz, she threatened to. I have twin toddlers. At the time, they were 2.5, and I had a 5-year-old. When I was shown the apartment in July, there was carpet in the apartment. However, when we moved in, there was not carpet. And that was one of the requirements for when I was moving, because I'm aware that I have 3 kids and toddlers have clumpy feet. So within a month, we started receiving a lot of phone calls and complaints from Ms. Peretz about the noise that our children were making. And we were also faced with eviction threats if we don't contain the noise. So that's.
And what were they complaining about? The pitter patter of their feet or the yelling?
So they were complaining about everything.
And who's they? The people who lived underneath you?
It's the people that lived underneath me, and then also right next to us, because it's like a duplex. It's an older building.
Okay. Yeah. How long did you live there?
I lived there from August 1st to January 30th of 2020.
Okay. But why would you be entitled to $3,000 in emotional distress? Tell me how she emotionally distressed you.
Sure. There was a lot of anxiety. The anxiety coming from her ignoring my complaints about the downstairs neighbor's son, banging on so it was his ceiling, our ground, almost every morning, yelling profanities at my children. So all of that went ignored.
But it wasn't. Why does she have to pay you $3,000 when you've told me yourself that all of the neighbors were complaining? That's not like she would prefer the neighbors didn't complain. How is it? How does she have to pay you $3,000 because she had to keep telling you about the neighbors' complaints?
My children, they have the right to be children. Also, they're toddlers and they have naturally clumpy feet. And also there were instances where I received harassing texts from her, and these were very condescending texts.
Like what?
Referring to. So this is a text sent on December 5th. It's the same day that she sent us the notice to vacate. And this is it's a charge from my ex-boyfriend. It has nothing to do with me, but it was domestic. And she sends a screenshot, and then she says, "I can certainly understand why you and your children are scared of him. I can also see that I made a mistake trying to be nice to you."
So she sends you a text, and she's screenshot something from somewhere that says that your former boyfriend has been charged with simple assault, recklessly endangering another person, harassment, and endangering the welfare of a child. He pistol whipped a victim who suffered lacerations following a heated custody exchange. Okay, I have some very distinct ideas of who that victim was.
It actually wasn't me.
Everything that you're saying is stuff that could have, should have, and probably was brought up in court, because your court was on January 15th of 2020. So, if you, these are all things that the judge accounted for, and then there's a settlement in court. So let me ask you a question. What you've got on that side still is $21.90, which you feel she has held on to too much of, right?
That is correct.
That's really what your lawsuit is, that you want your security deposit back. Now, let's understand, Ms. Peretz, let's talk to you now about your counterclaim. You have $21.90 of her dollars, and you're suing for an additional $41.47? What are you doing?
It's really supposed to be for attorney fees and February rent, because I sued for ongoing rent.
Okay, why would she owe you February rent when she got out at the end of January, which is what was envisioned by the settlement?
The property was damaged, and I had to repair it, so I lost out on February rent.
Well, let's talk about the damages. Tell me the damages to the apartment that you felt kept you from re-renting it. Go ahead.
Kira moved in the beginning of August. In September, I was away on a business trip, and I received a call from her letting me know that her and Raekwon had a domestic dispute, and he had kicked in the front door, but that she didn't want me to be concerned, that she would get it repaired and take care of it.
So do you have pictures of the front door, and what was the problem?
I submitted those pictures.
You did, but the only picture I have of the front door I'm going to put up now on the screen.
Yeah. It was after it was partially repaired already.
Okay, but it doesn't show a front door that's broken.
That is the front door.
Yeah. Where is the door broken?
See the frame? The whole frame has to be replaced.
Yes, I see a frame that has to be replaced. I don't see a door that has to be replaced. You sent a letter to her saying you were keeping $500 for that. Today in your lawsuit, you're asking for $1,020 for that. You can see where maybe I'm a little suspicious that you're angry that you had to take her to court. So I need to be extra sure that what your damages are, because you have so much reason to be angry about the way things went. And if the only picture you show me of the front door shows that you need a molding, how on God's green earth do you think I'm going to award you $1,250? I need to see the damaged door.
Unfortunately, I took that picture after the door was replaced.
Okay. Do you have a receipt for the replacement of the door?
I don't have that receipt with me.
What happened to the door, Ms. Gaitlin?
Yes, we had a disagreement, and I locked the door. He broke the door. I was not happy about it.
So what was broken? Exactly what did he break?
He broke the panel of the door, so the interior left panel.
So when you say panel, you're referring to this picture? Take a look at the picture.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Did he break the lock?
He did not break the lock.
Did he break the actual door, the thing that opens and closes? Did he punch a hole through it or anything like that?
No, he did not, Your Honor.
Okay. You're asking for attorney's fees, but what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Your settlement agreement says everybody's eating their own attorney's fees, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so you can't get attorney's fees. Repainting living room walls. Did you submit pictures about why you had to repaint the living room walls? No.
They hadn't.
You have a picture of the blinds in the living room, and you have a picture of the blinds in the bedroom. Certainly those two things should be compensated for. Now let's talk about the TV mount, the removal of the TV mount. You actually don't contest that. And the amount for the living room closet, Ms. Gatlin, you also don't contest. Okay, we have $245 that you're charging for repainting the living room walls. According to you, Ms. Gatlin, she didn't have to repaint the living room walls. And according to you, Ms. Peretz, why did you have to repaint them?
It was just the one, not all of the walls, just the one wall where the TV mount was.
Okay. I'm going to allow $150 for the molding that needs to be replaced on the front door. I'm going to allow the entire $245 for repainting the wall with the mount. I'm going to allow $125, which is what you claim you paid, even though you have no receipts. That doesn't sound like an unreasonable amount for the TV mount, and in particular because in the plaintiff's complaint, she says she doesn't contest that. I'm going to allow $107 for the blinds and $170 for the closet door. That totals $797. That does not total $2,190. That means that the plaintiff is owed $1,393 in the security deposit back. So then the issue is, you have thrown in another $1,095 for February rent because the damages were so extensive you couldn't rent the place out. However, all you really had to do was remove the TV mount, replace 3 blinds, and paint the living room. And that should not have caused you to lose February's rent. So you don't get February rent. All right, where did you get the idea that she could not charge you 2 months' rent as a security deposit?
Yes. So first I contacted a free tenant union representative network, and that's where I was first because I was unknowing of this law.
Some states allow you to get 2 full months of rent as security. Some states limit you to 1.5. Some states on the second year of a lease make you give back a little security. There's all kinds of stuff. I don't know what current, and that stuff changes. So you want to stay current on that. It doesn't matter for my purposes because what I've got to determine, all right, is how much you're supposed to get back. I know you have $2,190 there. I know that I have found that there's $797 worth of damage, so I know how to do the math. So based on everything I've gone over, I am ordering the defendant to give the plaintiff $1,393, and that now shall conclude the saga of your lives. There should not be a, son of King Kong 3, okay? Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
Let's see how the defendant feels about this. Ms. Moretz, the judge did a lot of math, a lot of figuring. What do you think about the outcome?
I think the judge was very fair. I should have had the credit card receipts, from my contractor for the work that he did. So I certainly do understand her taking that into consideration. So in lieu of the evidence that was presented, I think she was very fair. I think that Kira Gatling is an opportunist and was just trying to kind of squeeze out whatever she could, and the judge saw through that, and I'm grateful for that.
All right, Ms. Gatling, let me ask you for your impression of the outcome.
Sure. I am happy for that amount just to have all of this over with. The amount of harassment that myself and my children have had to endure from Ms. Peretz has just been a nightmare, to say the least. So I am satisfied. I think that the judge was very fair, and I have nothing else to say. I'm happy that it's over.
All right. You got out at the end of January. How about where you're living now? Are things better where you are now?
Oh, yes. Things are a lot better now. Thank you.
Well, good. Congratulations.
Doug, there is such a thing called retaliatory eviction. But that means that, for example, if you call the building department because the landlord has done something that breaks the law, and then the landlord retaliates against you, that's one thing. That is not what happened here, and that's why the plaintiff didn't prove the case.
What makes you laugh the most, if you had to pick something?
Well, I've seen every episode of The Office 6 times, probably.
It's a total addiction at our
Yeah,
house.
it's
we
basically
watch it over and over and over because it's hilarious.
Steve Carell definitely makes me laugh. John Mulaney makes me laugh. You make me laugh on a day-to-day basis, which is nice. That's a nice way to go through life.
Yeah, I've always thought.
Sarcasm makes me laugh.
Yes, definitely.
My litigants make me laugh.
Your job makes you laugh, let's face it.
This job makes me laugh.
Which is great, because when I was a judge, there weren't that many laughs on the bench.
It's
and
a
as a prosecutor, there weren't that many laughs. So when you got home, that's the one thing you really wanted to do, right? Sit down, we watch The Office, all
South Park
7 seasons. We watch South Park a lot. And I'm with you. Steve Carell, he's got to be the funniest man alive.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. Introducing the all-new, all-terrain Honda Passport Trail Sport, the most off-road capable Honda Passport Honda has ever dreamt up. The Passport features increased ground clearance, roof rails on all trims, and available specially developed all-terrain tires. And you'll stay comfortable with tri-zone climate control and available features like heated and ventilated front seats and a panoramic moonroof. Learn more at honda.com/passport.
This is the plaintiff, Sharika Bell. She says she hired the defendant to make her custom T-shirts for her daughter's first birthday. And that guy botched the job, big time. She didn't get what she ordered. The shirts weren't personalized, and she's here seeking a full refund of the $1,700 she paid, because what he delivered to her is worthless. This is the defendant, Darius Stallworth. He says he did a great job on the t-shirts and delivered them on time for the party. He's quite shocked by this lawsuit because he never got any complaints from the plaintiff after the party and doesn't owe her any money because he did a great job. He's accused of a shirting disaster.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff says that she hired the defendant to make T-shirts for her kid's first birthday, and the defendant botched the job. But the defendant says did a great job on the shirts, delivered them on time, and doesn't owe her a refund. It's the case of a shirting disaster.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Bell, you hired Mr. Stallworth to do some T-shirts for you for your baby's one-year birthday, which was quite the bash.
Yes,
Yes.
it was.
How many people did you have at her one-year? I'm sure she's going to remember it very fondly. Well, how many? It's not for them; it's for us. But how many people did you have at that party?
A lot over 100.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so, what is it that you hired the defendant to do?
I asked Mr. Stallworth, can he provide the shirts for her party?
All right.
It's supposed to have a picture of her saying birthday, mommy of the birthday girl, you know, the title of
whoever's wearing
every
it.
person that was there.
Right, like
yes.
grandma of the birthday girl or that kind of stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So this is what you asked for, correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I wanted.
Okay. And how many T-shirts did you order?
Originally, it's supposed to have been 50, but it was so many people coming, and I didn't want anybody to feel left out. So it was about almost 90 shirts that was supposed to have got made.
And you placed that order when?
The first order was made the beginning of February is when I first messaged
And the
him
party
about
was
doing
going to
the
be
shirts.
on April 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. And then you added the other shirts when?
Like 2 weeks later.
So what I want to know is what ends up happening. Let's bring us to the day before the party.
Basically, he tell me that he's still waiting on 50 shirts to come. And he was like, well, I'm going to try my best to figure it out. Me and my dad going to get it taken care of. You have nothing to worry about. No pressure. It's going to get handled. That's what I was told. So I was confident that
Why would that make
party,
you confident? There's not a word that came out of his mouth that would make me confident. That sounds awful. If he doesn't physically have the T-shirts, how's he finishing half the job? So anyway, the day before the party, did you send, on March 31st, did you send somebody to pick up, this is a couple days before the party, did you send somebody to pick up the order?
Yes, my mom was going to pick up the shirts.
And then what happened on the 31st? Your mom's out there, and what happens?
She waited 2 hours, and she was like, hey, I'm not getting a response. Can you message him to let him know that I'm outside, which I did. And then he informed me that he will, bring the shirts, like meet her halfway to get the shirts.
Because they still weren't ready?
Finished.
Okay. And then, so that's on the 31st of March. Then I see that on the day of the party, you send someone else to go pick up the shirts, right?
Yes.
There was no meeting halfway. He was supposed to deliver them at this point, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then he says to you by text, listen, if I have to drive over there, I'll never finish.
Yes. My mom came that morning, the shirts wasn't ready.
Oh, geez.
So I'm like, hey, so I had to ask my auntie to go later on that day.
Okay, so your auntie goes, and then how late is your auntie for the party?
She was already like an hour and a half late for the party. So I stopped my auntie out there, and he was like, hey, most of the shirts don't have the words on it. I couldn't finish.
He couldn't finish putting the words on it that say cousin of the baby, grandfather of the baby, or whatever it was?
No, he said
so
he
what was
completely ran out of all of his products.
Right. So what was missing?
He told me that he had the main shirts done. My kids didn't have no shirts, which would have been the main shirt. My kid, the grandparents, only one set of grandparents had on a shirt. The rest
that's even worse than no grandparents.
That's even worse.
That is infinitely worse than no parents having shirts. Okay.
Yeah, it was just
disaster.
Yes.
In the end, you ended up, your aunt ends up bringing all of the shirts, and the problem is that it's late, and many of them are missing what the relation is. But did you get all the shirts?
I did not get all the shirts. Majority of the shirts was youth size shirts, which I didn't receive none of the youth size shirts at all.
All right, Mr.
So none of the
Stallworth, what
kids was
happened
able to put
here?
on shirts.
I had no product to work with. When she first called me and inquired, I didn't have nothing.
I heard that. I don't know why you didn't. Why didn't you have product to work with?
Honestly?
Yeah, honestly.
My apartment was, it was shagged in, got stolen in. All my cricket cutter, everything was gone. So
why did you take the job?
Because I knew her and I felt like I could do it, honestly. And I wanted to keep the business going. I didn't want to stop business. So I tried to conquer the job, but it's just life. Things happen, things get in the way. It's just.
Okay, so her mother went on the 31st and you still weren't done. Then her mother went on the 3rd and you still weren't done. And she had to send a third person because I read your text to her where you said, hey, if I got to drive all the way out there, I'm never going to be done. That's going to take too much time. So now she has to send somebody to get to the party an hour and a half late because you can't deliver, you can't fulfill your end of the contract. So she wants money back. So tell me how you didn't fulfill your end of the contract. Life got in the way. Yeah, life is full of interruptions. The question is, who does that cost? Why should she pay full price for this stuff when you didn't fulfill your end of the contract?
No, and I also offered her to pay money back. I did offer
How much?
That, about $200.
How much money in total did you get from her? $953?
About 900. Yes,
953. And so you offered her $200 back. Let me ask you a question. Were there any youth-size shirts for the kids for her party?
Yeah. It was a lot of adult shirts that I was missing, and that was because the Amazon was really tripping that week. I don't know what was going on with them. My order didn't even come, and so we had to go in store to get shirts, and that costed way more money.
Yeah, I think you waited that's a you problem. That's not a her problem because you charged her for supplying the shirts. So if you can't get it at the deal you want it with Amazon because Amazon didn't deliver it on time, then yeah, you got to get shirts so you can comply with your contract. That's on you. But what you did was you waited until the very, 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 very last minute, hoping the cheap Amazon shirts would come in. And when they didn't, then you went and bought the shirts, and then you didn't have time to finish everything. You say there wasn't a single youth shirt in that group?
It was not.
Not one.
None.
And why are you
Not
saying that there
one.
was, Mr. Stallworth? Do you have a receipt for buying youth shirts?
I don't, but I have.
All right.
I scratched off everything that I completed.
What do you do for a living? Is this your job, or is this something you do on the side?
It's a side job.
Oh, thank God for that. What time is it, Douglas?
Ooh, we're ruling. Time to rule.
Can I please say something?
No, honey, it's so unnecessary.
Or is this time for rough justice?
That's what it is. It's time for a little rough justice because it's kind of, I know you want $1,700. You're not going to get that. And you did get some shirts, okay? And that's worth something because people are walking around with shirts, okay? And I saw the pictures, and you got cheated in many regards. The shirts weren't delivered. You had to pick them up 3 times. You had the stress of having them come late in the middle of a party. And you had the additional stress of having many of them be wrong, and according to you, some of them non-existent. So I'm going to order him to return 75% of what you paid him. And that's a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $714.75. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
So the plaintiff's going to get back $714, not $1,700. I don't know if she's happy with that. But Mr. Stallworth, the defendant, you can't be surprised at the judge's decision, are you?
It's okay. It's all right. I mean, I feel like I delivered, what I could. I didn't do what I really wanted to do because, like she said, it was at the very last minute. So it's all I guess fair game.
Yeah, well, you didn't deliver what she wanted and what she paid for. That's why you got to give 3/4 of the money back. So, sorry, but that's the judge's verdict. You got to live with it. Ms. Bell, let me ask you, you're not getting back nearly what you wanted, but are you okay with that, the $700?
I'm okay.
You okay with that?
Something is, yes, sir. Something is better than nothing because he didn't offer nothing back. And I just hope that this does not happen to anybody else because it's really stressful and it's sad.
Well, I think everybody would agree with that. But was the party a total bust because of the shirts, or was it somewhat successful? How would you answer that?
I would say at the end, it turned out successful.
Okay, that's the important part. Good for you. Congratulations. Harvey?
Doug, I want to tell you for a second the difference between small claims court and larger courts. In a superior court, a court of general jurisdiction, you have to prove damages to the penny. Small claim court judges are allowed to do what we call, and the judge calls, rough justice, which is to try and make an equitable solution to a legal issue.
Why can't litigants get lost wages? Judge Milian often says the court's to make you whole. And I know it can be expensive, but isn't that kind of their problem, the other party's problem?
The entitlement to lost wages has to be like statutory or part of a it's not like normally a compensable expense. If you have a $100 repair case and the guy's a brain surgeon, is he going to turn it into a $10,000 case? That's not how it works.
Because a couple hours of his time is worth that.
Right, so if I feel like if I can't sue the brain surgeon because it'll cost me $10,000 over a $100 case, brain surgeons never get sued.
Right. Get away with everything. You know those brain surgeons. Them and the rocket scientists.